let's talk about the next match. You're in this one. We've got the Powers of Pain and the Rockers and the Young Stallions and the Hart Foundation, and they're going to be taking on, also the British Bulldogs. God damn, there's a lot of tag teams here. They're taking on Demolition, the Rougeaus, the Conquistadors, the Bolsheviks, and the Brainbusters. And Meltzer would say this was a really great match with guys tagging in and out and going all out. And it was the pace of a hot Japanese match until the last few minutes. And he even says in his write-up, Blanchard and Anderson were the highlight of the match, particularly their first meetings with other famous tag teams like the Bulldogs, Bret Hart, and the Rockers. It comes down to Bulldogs and Powers of Pain versus Conquistadors and Demolition. Ultimately, it's written here. Then Arn signaled it was time to go home and finish all the fun. So the Rockers and Brainbusters went at it to start the feud, and both were disqualified at 27 minutes and 57 seconds and had a light-hearted brawl back to the dressing room. So this is where you get your feud kicked off, but he's very, very complimentary of your work here. You got a ton of time, like 33 minutes here in the match. No, my apologies. 42 minutes in this match, I think is right. 3 3/4 stars. Big time match, but God, this has got to be challenging when you've got 10 guys on the apron to this side and 10 guys on the apron at that side. And then obviously 2 dudes in the middle. So there's 18 dudes on the apron. That's got to be challenging to work around, is it not?
It's the screaming shits. And let me tell you why. And for the 18 years that I was a producer, I asked periodically, not every year, but every few years, this was the one thing, if you think about it, you got to go, well, I'll be damned. Do you know how stupid you feel where you got this match going on and you got the whole theory of Survivor Series is when the match is over, the way you win the match is you still have members of your team surviving, and there are no members of the other team left, correct?
Right.
That's the theme of Survivor Series. The thing I could never get past that made no sense to me is you would have a finish go down right in front of 4 guys who were standing there 3 feet away and nobody made a save. What sense does that make?
Right.
You would never want one of your teammates to get beat because that lessens your odds of being the sole survivor or a survivor with all your teammates or half of them or whatever. It was just one of those things that I could never get an answer to. When I would ask, they would look at me and I would get that look like, oh shit, he's trying to make sense out of an unsensible business again. But when it was all said and done, if it didn't make sense to me, and I would try to go back and analyze every match I was in, okay, it wasn't a 4-star match, but did it at least make sense? Maybe it was a 4-star match, but did it still make sense? Was it a 2-star match? Did it make sense? As long as it did, okay. With those guys, I remember vaguely what we actually did, but with all those talented guys with the Hearts and the Bulldogs and all those great baby faces, man, we could just go in and tear the joint down. And I'm sure we did. We got with those guys during the day and say, hey man, we want to feature everybody if we possibly can. That's what we tried to do. The fact that we bailed out with the Rockers, fighting to the back just kind of takes away from the action in the ring. So it was just one of the, they could have beaten us that night. That would have been fine. Just let us do something once we get to the back. Maybe when the match is over, you cut to the back and we're kicking their ass in the back or something. We didn't have to do a fight all the way down we had been beaten quite a bit, trust us. Getting beat one more time by those guys wouldn't have hurt us.
Your first time working with Bret Hart's got to be here, right? You wouldn't have ran across him before.
No.
What'd you think? Obviously we'll talk about Neidhart another time, but Bret Hart in particular, known for being one of the all-time best in-ring technicians. Was that your testimony here in early 88?
Very solid. Bret was a wrestler's wrestler. He, he was very talented and he wasn't a flip-flop and fly guy. Bret liked to mix it up and swap holes and all that stuff. And, made everything credible and believable. I enjoyed working with Brett.
What about the Bulldogs? We've often heard as wrestling fans that Dynamite Kid was a special talent. Whenever I suggest that to Bruce Pritchard, he says, I never really got it. But Bruce was never in the ring with him. You were. What say you?
Well, the thing was, even though he was gassed up and jacked up and looked tremendous, he still wasn't a big guy. I put him in that category with Chris Benoit. You would look at him and go, that's a good looking athlete, but he's not 6'3", he's not 280 pounds. How's he going to fare with these bigger guys? Once the match got started and he started laying into you, nobody questioned how big he was. They were a really good team, and they didn't work like body guys. And, when it was time to get after it, those guys would take some bumps and they would give you some bumps, and they would, they were very accommodating as far as working hard. So we enjoyed working with them. I would have loved to work with them a program.
Let's talk about some of your tag team partners here. The Conquistadors, the Bolsheviks, the Rougeaus. Tell me about those teams as best you can.
Oh, well, those, I didn't pay that much attention. We were put out there together there was really, which I guess is part of the allure to it at that time, was just to put a bunch of random teams together. We didn't try to do anything in conjunction with those guys, and they certainly didn't try to do anything in conjunction with us. It was just do their thing and get out. And when it was time to get put out, they got put out.
How do you find out it's time? Is somebody giving you a signal? Is the referee communicating with someone ringside and they tell you, or I know you're weird about communicating some of this, so you can tell me to shut the fuck up whenever you're ready. But this seems like a giant cluster when you got 20 dudes here, and it's almost akin to a battle royal, the way you said it. Well, it's time for you to go out. But if you're in the middle of the shit, how do you keep up with that?
Well, it's up to you. You know when you're going out and who's putting you out. And that's really everything else. You're just calling on the fly and making it, if you don't talk to guys during the day, then you get in there, end up in the ring with them. In those days, heels ran the match, period. It was up to you. If you had a great match in those days, agent would come up to you or whoever it was, and they would go, you guys had a great match. Thank you. If the match stunk, the heel got his ass chewed out. It was on him. So you would try to, make sense of what, let's just say we were going to put out whoever, whatever team you want to pick, the Bulldogs. Okay, how can we get them as high as we can possibly get them, and how can we use our teamwork to screw those guys? Because you just didn't want to, I just wanted to Spinebuster Davey Boy Smith, my God, and count him 1 down, 1, 2, 3. Right. There's no heat in that. And people would just look at, even though I did do that to Sean in one of these same matches, which he was pissed about. I think it might have been the very next year in our last pay-per-view there, or mine. But that's for another day, another story. That was what you would get. You're out third, be put out by the Conquistadors, let's just say, whatever it was. It's up to you guys to put it together.
I'm saying as far as the time cue though, like when do you know when it's been, obviously they've got to back time the show and they want the show to go off the air at the same time. I don't think this is the IFB era. Is there someone at ringside on a headset who puts a pencil in his mouth or tugs his tie or something silly like that?
Somebody would get word to somebody on a headset would get word to the referee somehow.
Yeah.
Okay. It's so-and-so's time to go. He would just come over and, hey, time to get out. And you would take a minute or so to adjust whatever you had to do. If you were on the apron and it was your turn to go out, you'd just start screaming at whoever, make it real. Hey, give him to me. And the guy would know, okay, it must be his time to get out. And he would tag out. You come in, do your finish.